Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to a Saturday show, one we're going to have a lot of fun with. I can assure you of that. We've got Bryan Hitch in the green room, and we've got 40 artworks that we're going to be offering for sale after we do an interview with Bryan. So it's nice to see a lot of people ready and raring to go in the chat. I saw Alberto, who knows a thing or two about picking up some large artwork. Yeah, there's a lot of oversized pieces in the sale today, a lot of DPSs. And as you know, Bryan typically works large. So I've got one kind of supersized piece. I figured I'm only going to do one today because those are the ones that take the biggest pieces of masonite to ship. But yeah, I think all the artwork, the cool thing is that we have 40 pieces of art for sale, and they span almost 30 years of Bryan's career. So, and they are all new to the market. This isn't, anything that's ever been available before. So a lot of it, some of it's new from Ultimate Invasion, but we go all the way back to a very interesting Malibu Marvel crossover that may or may not have happened. But you're really going to enjoy everything. So let me bring Bryan in here, and we'll get this thing going. Good afternoon, Bryan.
Hey, Bill. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. How about yourself?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very nice weekend.
You look very relaxed. Your shirt's unbuttoned. You know, you're having
this isn't underclothing. This is just a t-shirt.
Well, it's nice to have you on. We did that show back in the it was early spring.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to get things started, and that was really when Ghost Machine and things were starting to heat up. You had just done maybe the first show at MegaCon where people were really getting exposed to stuff. What's the last 5 months been like for you with the PR and, I mean, getting these books out on time, even though they're, seemingly more and more expansive each time they go through? What's it been like for you? It's
certainly been busy. It's probably one of the most gloriously busy periods of my career. I mean, doing a monthly book is always hard. Staying on top of it. We started late. We had a double-sized first issue, which kind of ate up all of our lead time. So we've been really pushing up against print dates ever since. So it's been a little hard to stick with that. But I have to say, this has been one of the most brilliantly creative periods of my career. I love working with Jeff. Our collaboration is, for both of us, something new to each of us in the way we connect and collaborate. Redcoat has just been a joy from start to finish, and just continuously pushes both of us into new territories. And I know people haven't read it yet, but we're delving into much deeper, much more powerfully emotional stuff now for the character beyond issue 6. But working in that environment with that bunch of people, Gary, Jay, Peter, Francis, it's just, as artists, it's just constantly being in touch with each other, constantly showing each other's stuff, because it's our company, and we like to all kind of stay in contact, as well as the shows we do together. But that's inspiring because everybody's doing such extraordinary work, and so yes, it's been probably the busiest I've been, because also it's not just trying to maintain a monthly book and working on Redcoat, as made me realize it's been a long time since I've been so deeply and passionately, emotionally engaged with the material and the collaborative partnership I've got with Jeff. So there's a lot less compromise that's often forced on you by monthly books. So I work harder because there's so much more I want to get into the page and the characters and the emotions and so on. But it's also been a hugely rewarding period. I can't imagine ever wanting this to end, which fortunately doesn't have to. But it's the beginning of something, and that makes me really passionate about the following decade.
Right, the future, it looks enjoyable for you, and in many ways, yeah.
And when we're planning so far ahead, I mean, Jeff and I are already plotting well into the issue 20s and 30s in terms of we know where the book's going, we know where the ending is, so we kind of know roughly where our direction is. But rather than doing a series, originally we were going to do 3 or 4 mini-series when we first conceived of the character, and we could have told the broad stroke stories of the character quite well within that. But deciding to do it monthly meant we had a huge canvas now to go in. Rather than just this one straight line, we get to these little diversions and tell little stories we wouldn't otherwise have a chance to do, which broaden the tapestry and make it a little bit more, broadens the spectrum. It makes it a little bit more, a little deeper for the character, a little more interesting for us, because we can detour into these side stories which still play into the larger emotional story, because it's always Simon's emotional story there, rather than a long-term plot. It's Simon's emotional growth and Simon's emotional story, and it bleeds into all these plot things. But we can tell his little stories, like issue 7 and issue 8. Issue 7 was originally going to be a 2-page, 3-page epilogue in issue 6. And Jeff and I were in Philadelphia together for the show, and we were having a drink in the oldest bar in Philadelphia, which is where Simon would have drunk.
Of course.
He was in Philadelphia. So we're having this drink, which we referred to as historical research, which has become our kind of go-to phrase. And when we get together, we go away and have some historical research. But we're talking about this little epilogue, and that epilogue, over the course of a couple of glasses of wine, became an entire issue, and so much the better for it. But we couldn't have done that if it was just a mini-series. We couldn't tell you couldn't do what we're doing in issue 7 and 8 for that matter, which follows it. It wouldn't have been possible, because it would have been considered possibly superfluous to something where you're trying to just hone it down to the exact things you need for the briefest journey from A to B and C. Whereas when you have this monthly series, you get to spread a little bit and think, I have time. We can let it breathe. We can explore a little more, and that makes it a much deeper experience for both us as creators, and hopefully for people reading it as well.
Yeah, well, you kind of answered my next question, which was going to be what the collaborative process with Jeff was like, because I would think, as somebody who's co-plotting and working through things, now I know, when you're together, you can sit down and have a glass of wine and discuss things and divert that 20 or 30 issue plan that you have when needed, because it's really both your book.
And we talk almost daily about stuff. It's interesting, and we have a message thread, and so if we're not talking, we're constantly messaging, whether it's something about a detail of the issue that can be expanded on or changed, or perspective changed, or one of us says, this thing we set up here in issue 1 as an idea, what if we did this with it? And suddenly the whole knowing where we're going to end it, and some of the big benchmarks in between. So what if we did this with it? And suddenly that thing blossoms a bit more. And again, you can't get that with just the mini-series. I think having the space and the breadth to say that it can take as many issues as we want it to take. So thinking Walking Dead length, it gives us a huge spectrum to explore with detail and character and emotion and relationships and story and mythology and something that was a one-line throwaway in one of the issues has suddenly become this entire story arc. And again, in Philadelphia, Jeff and I were just having lunch. In fact, we're all of us having lunch in this same place. And I remember we were eating lunch, and Jeff looked at me and says, "You're thinking." He could see me. I'd shut down, like I was over my lunch. And Jeff said, "You're thinking it, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What if this happens?" And that's become a whole story. Just that one sentence just become this big story arc, because that lunch became, oh yeah, well, we could do this, this, and this. And again, we couldn't have done that if it was just movies 1, 2, and 3, if you like, in miniseries form.
Right. I was just thinking the same thing that Human Spider just wrote about. Since Ghost Machine is your partner in that, you can talk about long story formats where that you can do 40, 50 issues if you want, because you're the creators, you're in control of the book, you're part, you have the publisher. If you're working for anyone else, there's potentials of books getting canceled or having to be shortened because they're not selling right. Now you can tell the story that you want with the team around you that you want, and and you enjoy working with, and that's got to be incredibly fulfilling.
It absolutely is, and that's a phrase that exactly what Human Spiders talked about. That's exactly what comes up all the time with us, almost weekly. It's like, can you imagine we would not be able to do, we've done stuff, and Jeff says, we would not be able to do this if this was DC and Marvel, because those choices would ultimately be theirs, because they wouldn't let you do that with a commercially viable character. And we can make those choices because they're entirely creative, because they're the right choice for us, the right choice for the character, and so on. We don't have anybody to answer to except us as writer and artist, and that's the same across the entire line. All these people that we're in this ship together with, and their projects, that's the same. That's true for them. It's story driven. It's creator driven. None of this is editorially driven. None of this is publisher driven. So I think that gives the stories a certain. I mean, the last time I felt like this, honestly, was the Ultimates. Because the Ultimates was Mark and me doing entirely what we wanted, and we were told by Joe Quesada, do what you want. This is your thing. We will not get in the way. Whatever, if you want to kill characters, if you want to do anything to them, because the 616 characters, they still exist. This is your thing. Do what you need to do. Do what you want to do. And once you have that, as creators, you think, okay, first of all, I could do anything, and you have this tree. But then you start to think about, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? What's the best thing to do? But then you're not constantly derailed by other people saying, we need you to solve this problem, and you can't do that, so you need to do this. This is tying into that. The guy coming in is doing this book, and so you need to feed into that stuff. And that's always limiting. And limits can often be very useful, but they can also sometimes be, by the name suggests, limiting. And we don't have those publisher limits, those commercial limits, those corporate limits right now.
That's wonderful. I have to imagine dealing, with the Redcoat storyline, that it's a lot of fun to be looking at all the historical things that could potentially tie within the storylines. I mean, I'm sure that's part of when you're saying you've plotted out, say 30 or 40 potential issues that you're tying into other parts in history, and that involves, you get to kind of pick the points in time that you want to play around, and the characters.
And because Simon's immortal, and we know that he's immortal, at least he doesn't stay dead. Though there are going to be limits to that, we'll explore. But although we know Simon has this linear journey that spans hundreds of years, the comic doesn't have to work linearly. We can jump backwards and forwards across Simon's lifetime, because what happened is issue 7 is a powerful emotional issue. Issue 8 is initially, at least, called in working title as Catharsis. Now, it doesn't take place linearly in Simon's life directly after issue 7. In fact, it takes place almost 100 years earlier. But for us as the readers, it's hugely cathartic. What happens in issue 7, followed by issue 8. Issue 8 is a catharsis for what happens in issue 7. But for Simon, it's not one thing after the other, but we as readers experience a particular emotional journey, even if it's not the same journey Simon's exploring and appreciating. So we can jump back and forth like that. So it's nice to go where the story leads us, actually, and the dictations are really that. We have some points we want to hit, and we have some historical characters we want to introduce, but that constantly changes because each of us comes up with new ideas. What if we did this with this character? There's Johnny Appleseed is showing up in issue 9, for instance, and that's one of my favorite covers for the entire series so far, the one I did for issue 9. And his relationship with Johnny is lovely. It's not antagonistic. We've got issue 10 was originally going to be the first Ghost tie-in. That's now pushed back because first Ghost is now September, not January. So we will introduce the idea of first Ghost, if you like, in Redcoat, because Redcoat will encounter the characters in first Ghost within the history of Abraham Lincoln's time, before the first ghost story, which is present day, but is set in the White House. So those two stories will intersect. It'll be introduced by Simon, and we'll get the first ghost series, which will follow that. So we're able to do that because Simon has this historic spread.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
exciting. So you do have some editorial, things that need to kind of mesh with the other books underneath Ghost Machine, but it's not.
we don't have to, but we just want to do it that way, and it's an opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity. Brad's story could exist entirely without Simon's involvement, but we just start talking about it and say, well, you know what, Simon would have met those guys when, back in Lincoln's time, and you think, actually, why do we not do that? Because it's just a great thing, and readers like that stuff too, where it's first appearances by and first connections of, and that stuff is interesting to collectors and readers. So why not put that stuff in when you can? Because again, this is not something we're being dictated to by any publisher or corporate entity. This is just stuff we think, wouldn't it be cool if we did that? Because Brad's story is terrific, but actually we can put a little extra spin on that because of Simon's historical spread, so right. Why not do that? Sure. Why not enrich the line a little bit by spreading an extra layer of butter on the toast?
Well, it's as exciting as I thought it was. Getting to work with, essentially, they're like studio mates of you now, even though you're not working in the same flat or within close proximity of one another. You're all working together and discussing each other's plots and storylines and things. I think that's incredibly creative, and has to be, like you said, it's inspiring. Just you as a creator to be able to
constantly
work with people who all are kind of following the same guide, I guess, and making some things up as you go, as the story.
Well, that's one of those phrases, isn't it? I remember when I was writing something in Justice League, and some guy said, "Oh God, it feels like Hitch is making this up. It goes along." And so, isn't that the point? You do,
right?
Isn't that writing? It doesn't come pre-written. You have to make it up as you go along. There's always an element of that. What's nice is knowing, I suppose, where the general goalposts are, but because we're not restricted to anything, we all can do what we want, and everybody in this company has massive amounts of experience. So whilst it's massive, it is indulgent. Mm-hmm. Our indulgences aren't driven by just WTF, we can do what we want. They're driven by, okay, there is that, but what story purpose does it serve? What creative purpose does it serve? So we always have that self kind of limiting voice, because at the end of the day, we're all fairly experienced storytellers. So
right. So what's the as far as the readership, I mean, are you guys really happy with where the numbers and the metrics are right now, as far as the number of issues that are getting out there sold? I mean, I don't want to talk numbers. I just want to make, you guys are happy and comfortable where things are at today. Yeah,
we're absolutely delighted, both in terms of the way across the year the brand recognition has gone for Ghost Machine in general. Our launch numbers were way over what we expected or hoped for.
Good.
We're, Redcoat, Geiger, and Rook are all going to 4th printings on issue 1. That's been terrific. Issue 2s are getting multiple printings. Rook is 3rd issue is going through a 2nd print or 3rd print, I can't remember which. And in generally speaking, there's something we call decay, which is common in the industry. So issue 1 orders, issue 2 orders, issue 3 orders, there's a decay, and it's always percentages, very specific percentages across the retailers. And our relationships we've begun to build with retailers from prior to launch and through launch, and beyond, have been really, really good from our perspective, and hopefully so from their perspective. But our decay has been far less than we expected, and in some cases the order numbers are starting to go back up again. So we're definitely finding an audience, and it's a bigger audience than we needed. It's a bigger audience than we expected to find. And what's really interesting is the numbers on our first 3 launches, Rook, Geiger, and Redcoat, are so close in numbers they're practically indivisible. So people are embracing the whole thing with that. And we have Hyde Street launching in October, along with Devour, which is a Hyde Street one-shot spin-off. So Hyde Street is the horror, the blanket for the horror line, but also the flagship title of the horror supernatural line. And Devour is a one shot that it comes under the blanket of It Happened on Hyde Street. So there'll be miniseries and one shots, that annuals and so on, that come out through those, and other series that come out through the Hyde Street banner. And November sees the Family Odyssey line, which is led by 2 books by Pete Tomasi and Francis and Peter Snierberg, which are The Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo. And I can tell you those books are just terrific. They're such good fun. And Hyde Street is just phenomenal as well. So we've got a big kind of autumn coming up, and I'm hoping that the confidence we've built with retailers and readers with the 3 initial launches will be realized in those new launches that were coming up, because there's no competitive situation between any of us as creators. So we want, because we all own the company equally, and we all, so Hornsby and Halo being successful is a benefit to every one of us as much as Rook and Redcoat and Geiger. So all of us benefit and from the success of all books. So there's less of a competitive streak, as much as we want all those books to succeed as much as possible, because everybody benefits in the company.
Of course. Now, you mentioned the fall being a big release point for you. Is that where you're going to be debuting or making announcements at New York Comic Con?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we have quite a large floor space at New York on the main floor. We're not in Artist's Alley, so we have a booth space which we'll be sharing with Midtown Comics. So you look for us there. We will be spreading our signings and our booth time across the whole company of creators through the weekend. So there'll be a significant schedule for each of us about where you find each of us at what time. But we'll only be in the Ghost Machine booth, which will be, and Midtown Comics will be selling. Only selling books related to all of us as creators as well. So anything we've ever done as a group of creators will be available in Midtown Comics directly, connected to the Ghost Machine booth as well. So it's a big shift for us as a company, getting like an enhanced presence at the New York Comic Con like that.
No, it makes a lot of sense too, to kind of share a booth with them.
Yeah.
And let them, because then they're going to be bringing in a lot of the materials that could be signed or bought, purchased, those sorts of things. So,
and actually, as
New York, I think,
as collectors too, anybody who's interested in collecting some stuff, all of us, Gary, Jay, Francis, and so on, we're all producing some very specific sketch covers on, blank sketch covers. We're doing some work on for all of the Ghost Machine titles that are available, including the High Street launch. And then I'll be doing some for those. We're all doing at least one each of Ghost Machine 1, Redcoat, Rook, Geiger, and all of those will be available for sale at the booth as well. So there's going to be some very special collectibles there, individually created by each of us artists.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I was going to ask you about whether or not you see the team kind of doing other, like variant covers potentially, or taking on a cover role for a different book. Those sorts of things, because I have to imagine you kind of would like to tackle some of the other characters in, at one point or another, even if it's for your cover only.
Yeah, in fact, we were talking about this last week. So the 6 of us are going to be doing exactly that. We're going to be working on across each other's books, and we're going to be producing variants across the year and some kind of special thing. So we're just working out the details of who's going to be doing what first, and how that's going to be spread across. But we're going to be creating this new variant program inside the company, with each of us doing a series of special covers for each other's books in sequence. So that's another thing we'll be announcing after New York Comic Con, because that stuff those will be for books published next year, but across the whole of the year. But we're going to be doing a whole series of covers. So we each get to do a series of covers for everybody else's book, all of the books: Hyde Street, Hornsby and Halo, Rockefellers, Rook, Redcoat, Geiger, and so on, and some other specials too. That's
wonderful. I mean, that's what I was hoping you were going to say. So that's good. I can't wait to see how those turn out. I mean, it's it's been a fun read for me so far. I haven't been able to keep up with everything, but I've been following Redcoat. I love it, and it's just a lot of fun. I always love Jeff's writing and your artwork, and so paired, it's been a joy. It really has been. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who are tuning in today or will be watching this on the rewind that feel the exact same way.
Thanks. I mean, we're just having fun, and at the end of the day, that's not always easy to find.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope somebody took pictures of the both of you having wine in that Philadelphia, the oldest bar in Philadelphia.
I've got pictures. I have pictures.
All right. Had I known,
historical research.
Well, you should, right? Exactly. That makes a whole lot of sense that you would be doing a little bit of research. It's all business at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's our excuse for it anyway.
Martin says Redcoat's their favorite book from Ghost Machine right now as well.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you, Martin.
Well, we have, we talked about going about 20 minutes and then jumping into the art sale just because there's a lot to discuss when we're looking at the art too, and we do have 40 pieces. So is that okay if we kind of?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we've done this. I think most people in the chat have partaken in a art sale show, but I'll give you guys the kind of breakdown on how we handle doing sales here on the channel. So all the art that you're going to see today is in hand. So I've got it all sitting on the table next to me. And while we're showing them, I'm happy to show you the actual piece. I actually share a screen from the scans if you'd like to see a closer scan too. So when I'm showing a slide, don't be bashful if you want any more information. I'll be looking at the art too, and if I notice that there's a little white out here or there, or if Brian remembers something specific to that piece of art, we'll certainly mention it. But we'd like to have payment within 48 hours whenever possible. There are some expensive pieces in the drop that we're doing today. So what I would say right now is that we're happy to offer time payments on pieces with a deposit. We can go up to 90 days, depending on the amount that's purchased. So at the end of the day, Brian and I just want to guarantee that you can get a piece if you really want it, even if it's a little bit out of your wheelhouse today and you need to go out, say 60, 90 days, we can work with you on something like that. Very happy to do that. But for those of you who will be paying right away, Zelle and Venmo are always our preferred method of payment. I'll even take a personal check if that works better for you. And I can get you the mailing information after the show. If you need to use PayPal, for whatever reason, whether that's the only thing that's available to you or you're outside of the continental US, which most people then have to use PayPal, we do charge a service fee of either 4 to 5.5% if you're international on that. So prefer to go the non-fee route whenever possible. And as far as shipping goes, I'm going to keep, even though the art's oversized, we're going to keep the rates the same. And not all of it is. Half the art is 11 by 17, just so you know. We have the sizes listed on all the slides. Domestic shipping is 30, international 65. And again, I'll be handling all the fulfillment. I think many people have bought art from us on the channel, and I ship everything really well. We buy masonite and pack things very, very protectively because we want to make sure the artwork gets to you safe and sound. So we don't, we take care. And it's been wonderful. I've actually gotten a lot of my masonite back. The other day, somebody shipped me artwork to me that was in the same packaging I shipped to them. So if somebody can reuse it, it's good. But that's always nice to see. But I would say the one thing is that because of the dimensions on here, I have a bulk of 11 by 17s cut, to ship artwork that's 11 by 17. Some of the pieces, I know that I'll be making a special Home Depot run on Monday to get larger sheets because of the size that some of these pieces are. And it's, it's not like it's dramatic, but and I might have, we've got a couple 18 by 24s, those sorts of things. So they require a bit of a larger size masonite for those. And I did see some questions before. Let's see, where was it? Sticky Rice asked about that, that Hulk Xbox video game. And they were asking about whether the box art's available. Now I know what the box art looks like because when I was doing searches on your Hulk art, it came up the most. However, I know that we don't have the actual box art image, but I can tell you, Sticky Rice, that we have an image today that was used in the promotional materials for the Hulk video game, and I also have, I believe, 2 other pieces that that are not in the sale that if you're would like to see. One of them is really close.
Huge. Yeah,
it's huge, and I wouldn't say it's Hulk's in a slightly different pose, but he's on a street and he's smashing like he should be. And it looks very similar to the Xbox image. So my guess is you probably did a lot of, I know you did a lot of work for the game.
I think I must have done at least 6 or 8 pieces that were related to promotional stuff. I did designs, turnarounds, box art. And I do remember the box art selling a long time ago.
Yeah.
When Rich was selling the stuff, I'm pretty certain that sold at least 15 years ago.
Right.
But I knew there was other stuff left over. There was even some stuff done that was never used, that was partially completed even at some point. I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember those being quite large pieces, the PR stuff, because they were all being turned into posters. So they wanted the print to be big. So I had to draw them fairly big so they blew up. Because, you have to, when you're inking, you have to get these lines at a certain kind of precision, because otherwise when you blow them up, they look quite gloopy.
Sure.
So some of those Paul Neary inked, some I inked. So I'm not sure what you've got in terms of who inked what, but I can tell you certainly by looking at them who inked what. I mean, Neary always signed them anyway. So
I think he did. Yeah. His name's on several of the pieces. But so Sticky Rice, after the show, or if you want to shoot me an email, I'd be happy to at least show you what the other pieces are that we do have. And, if there's anything you're interested in, we can certainly talk about that after the show. But one of those Hulk pieces is huge. I mean, the piece we have today is pretty large, but one of them is gigantic. I mean, it feels like it's, about at least 2 by 3 or very close to that. It's the largest piece of the stuff that was sent to me. So it's a little surprising, but Bill at Comic Art Fans is the email address for that. Now, I don't believe I saw any other questions or whatnot. We don't ship in tubes, though. Unless it was, that one piece might have to go in a tube, but everything else I've shipped flat. I've actually shipped about 3 or 4 of your really large pieces, and they've all made it safely to where they needed to go. I've gotten a piece a night and used that, so I feel confident with that. But that one Hulk piece, I might be a little nervous. That might be a hand.
It's funny with that stuff, because I shipped the last of the when Kevin and Nolan finished inking issue 2 of the Superman Testament, where I saw Lex Luthor thing, because that's what it's called now, Last Days of Lex Luthor. I had to ship issue 3 to him, so I'd completed issue 3 last year, but I had it in full. And the individual pages are all fairly large anyway, because it's printing big, so we drew it, the same kind of percentage up. But so it's 35 by 50 centimeter original singles, and of course doubles are double that too. So that I had to send it in 2 packages, because the original, I was worried about the damage that you get in shipping. So one package was sent out with just the singles, and one package sent out with all the double page spreads, and the double page spread package was just huge.
Yes. Well, that is the hallmark of a lot of your artwork is they are DPSs, they are sometimes oversized.
Because I like to draw on single pages. I don't like the splits. I hate the line in the middle.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Francis had just started when he went under Rocketfellas. Francis had been working digitally for years, and he wanted to go back to working traditional. And when he was doing issue 1 of Rocketfellas, I remember saying, he said, I can't get on with the double page spreads. Have you tried doing them with a single sheet? So what do you mean? I said, well, everybody does them as 2 joined sheets. Do them with a single sheet. Then you can get a brush line right across the middle. It's like, It never occurred to me. So he tried it that way, and he emailed me. It's like, this is great. So I'm just doing these like huge brush lines right across the middle of these huge double page spreads. And he's delighted, because it's that when you can't, when you're doing with all these 2 joined, when you got that line down the middle, you can't, on the original, the line breaks up all the way across.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I was measuring a couple pieces for the show, and you use 1 sheet, even if it's 22 by 17. So you'd rather not tape the pieces together and work that way. I think it's wise. And at the end of the day, as far as a presentable piece of artwork, it's much more appealing. I feel. I mean, DPSs are nice when you can fold them and put them in 11 by 17 Itoya, but being able to have that one piece that is can't be folded and it's all solid art, I prefer it that way too.
Well, actually, I grew up working at a time when the original artwork size for a standard letterpress comic book, the whole thing was the size of a modern day bleed page in terms of the original artwork.
Mm-hmm.
We all work on these 11 by 17 pages right now. That includes the bleed area. So the live art area is reduced from that by a significant percentage. But the live art originally was 11 by 17. And when they first started bringing in the bleed books in the 80s, the bleed was around that 11 by 17. So the bleed artwork for the offset books, as they were called then, were roughly around about 35 by 50 centimeters, the size I'm doing the Lex Luthor pages at, which is big. And I've got some of those, the She-Hulk pages I did at that size, and they're big. The original artwork is big. That was the size I got used to working at. So having to work even more reduced for now having the bleed within the 11 by 17 always feels like I'm miniaturizing a lot of the times. There are times I prefer to balloon up and work bigger, just because there's just so much stuff on the page. I want to work larger, which is why I started doing most of my covers bigger, because that's the size I'm most comfortable working at, is that 35 by 50 centimeters, whatever that works out in American. But it's that 11 by 17 plus bleed size, if you like, becomes what I'm used to working at for my originals, because that's the size I grew most comfortable with.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's around 13 by 19, 12 and a half by.
That's about right. Yeah,
in that range. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the size. I'd rather work that, but it causes problems for inkers, so I don't do that, because Andrew's more comfortable smaller when he's inking. But if I was inking myself all the time, I'd probably work bigger.
Mm-hmm. As we have seen, like I said, the hallmark of a Bryan Hitch page is expect it to be oversized one way or another. And I saw Corey. It is what we have to buy new material. I literally bought a tool cabinet with deep drawers and everything to put the art in, because I didn't know where I was going to put it. So I'll send you a picture of my office when I'm done.
Yeah, do that.
I needed to do that though. And one surprise, because we've never really talked about some of the stuff that I got from Rich. There's actually a complete She-Hulk story in there, believe it or not.
Oh, is there?
There is.
Wow.
There's something. Yeah. So I know we haven't really had a chance to talk about that, but I haven't talked to anybody about it at all. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But somebody mentioned the Galactus piece from FF. A lot of those were on those larger boards, and I can tell.
There's a double page spread of Galactus lying
exactly from issue 560 or something. We sold. I showed them just to let people see how big they were, and I had a couple people end up just buying them directly when I didn't have them on the site or as a sale. People inquired about them, and so we did. And so I have shipped those, Corey, and those are actually okay to ship flat, believe it or not. It's anything that would be a little bit bigger than that I'd be scared about. But yeah, let's get into this sale.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, great.
All right, and I think I talked a lot about going into the sale. We were going to do a whole bunch of Ultimate Invasion and kind of focus on that. And then I realized, we want to make sure we can appeal to everybody. So I think we've got about 8 or 9 Ultimate Invasion pieces that we're going to start off with, and some other Ultimates and Avengers related pieces. But we do have a good variety, although it's mostly Marvel. I think it's 35 Marvel pieces, and then I threw in 5 DC pieces at the end to accommodate the DC fans in the audience. But I've got plenty of DC art that I can show another time or drop on the site. So,
and I still have all my Justice League stuff at home as well. So
okay. There you go. So there's plenty of material out there, everybody. It's not that we're trying to shortchange DC at all.
And Hawkman and everything else I've done at DC. So there's still a lot of stuff outside of covers. There's still a lot of pages at home. So
all right. Well, let's get this thing going. So we're going to start off with some Ultimate Invasion work. This is this is from issue 1, the Illuminati, and I mean, this could have been a cover, right? I mean, it's you put a lot of work into it, and
that's oversized too. I remember doing it. See, again, when I'm drawing a bunch of characters like that, I prefer to have the space, because I can get the detail in a little better with the characters, and the figures just come out a little bit cleaner.
Very good. And Matt Tutulio picked this one up. Exactly. I mean, this image was used quite a bit, like in the lead up. I've seen it a lot. When you would read an article about Ultimate Invasion before the book even came out, this was one of the images that popped up quite a bit. So it's not surprising that Matt Tutulio, who is a Black Bolt art collector in his own right, would like this page. And I know we've got other pages too. I don't think we're offering any with Black Bolt in it, Matt, but
he was only in, I think, 2 pages. That there was the double page spread as well.
There was one where he's at a table, I think, with the Illuminati talking.
Yeah, that's right, and the double page spread that, and I'm not sure if that was included. I'm not sure whether that sold earlier or not. But there was a double page spread from issue 1 with the whole Avengers Illuminati group facing off, and Black Bolt was in that one too. But that was about it.
Well, there you go. You're getting one of the only pages, Matt, then, that had a minute. Now, I would put out there as a reminder, it's always good to put claim in the lot number. And we have 40 pieces of art. I know a lot of people are going to want to just see what's available before they claim in some cases. So when you're making a claim, always include the lot number. So just claim and the number after it, and then we know which piece you're talking about. So, but since we've only shown one, we knew which one Matt was talking about here. So lot number 2 is from the second book in that one. It's priced at $400. This one is on 11x17, but you know, it's got some fun Marvel characters on it. The thing is with Ultimate Invasion, you've either got kind of calm moments or battles. There's like no in between with that book, right? I mean, you were either drawing giant battle scenes or contemplative discussion moments between characters.
It was definitely not what I expected going. And initially, actually, when I first came to Marvel to do Venom and what became Ultimate Invasion, it was always called Ultimate Invasion, but Donny Cates was going to write it, and it was a much more direct kind of crossover mini-series which would spread out into all the Marvel books, and for a number of reasons that didn't happen. And so it was picked up again with Jonathan wanting to use it as a way in springboarding a new Ultimate Universe rather than what Donny was going to do, which was just a big fun summer crossover, which would cross over with the 616 universe, and there'd be for a few issues a blend of the Ultimates and the 616, the original Ultimates, and 616 characters in a kind of a mashup, and then they would have to recreate their own universes, and then there would be a spin-off of new Ultimate titles, and 616 would go back. So Jonathan wanted to do something different, so I stayed on with it, but it was a different story, definitely far more. I mean, issue 3 was a conversation for 30-odd pages, so it was not quite what I signed up for, but you know, it was still fun to be had, I guess. Sure. And going back to some of that stuff, but it was more of a continuation of Jonathan's Ultimate Universe than my Ultimate Universe anyway. So it was a thing.
Well, Earthquake has claimed this one, so thank you, Earthquake.
Oh, cool. Thank you very much.
We'll move over here and we hide this comment too. And
that was one of my favorite sequences, actually. That I really enjoyed that.
Now, this was the coloring on the book was pretty good too, but you know, because I was going through it and reminding myself of it because I'd read it earlier, but I like that. But so this one's lot 3, page 17 from issue 2 at 400 as well. But I mean, how do you get to a sequence that is like, you know, one that you can say, I really like that? I mean, what about a moment in a story engages you as a creator to really feel like you're working on a page you like?
Well, for me, often it's a moment, because I'm never as much interested in the drawing as I am in the storytelling. Mm-hmm. But for this, it was my favorite sequence of all of the entire series was when I got to go in issue 2, when we kind of recreated the initial issue 2 stuff from Ultimates, where Tony Stark appears for the first time. In Ultimate Invasion, it was Howard Stark. Mm-hmm. But we recreated the same 4-page sequence with the original introduction of Ultimate Iron Man, if you like. Though this is Obadiah's armor, and was more kind of War Machine based a little. So those two, I kind of loved drawing that Ultimate armor, and I found that when I drew the original wraparound cover. Was that the fun thing for me was to go back to that armor design and tweak that. I never got to quite go as far as I wanted to go with it, because Addy kind of beat me to it a little bit with how he streamlined the idea of it and turned it into what became the basis of in combination with mine, the Iron Man armor for the movies.
Sure.
Though actually in the movies they recreated the cover from Ultimates 2, which is Tony Stark, where as Iron Man putting his armor on, including all the arms and stuff. So they brought that to life. But my idea was always that Tony's armor was the first generation. It would get more and more streamlined as the series went on, and become more and more, as you see in the movies. Actually, really, is pretty much how it was supposed to go. So for me, that was just a fun moment. It was just a chance to do something that was kind of a cool moment in the story, and have a little play on that Ultimate Iron Man armor. In this case, I'd say it was War Machine, in all but name. Yeah, I'm not sure it was named as much, but Obadiah's armor was supposed to be War Machine.
Well, this one is still available, lot 3. So we'll take a look at lot 4. Another, this one I actually pick a couple pages from, not this particular sequence, but like this, where it's just got a lot of the characters in there. I mean, I know they're not battling, but there's just a lot of nice character portraits in this piece.
And anybody who likes really nice coving, carpeting,
that is so
like
great.
That.
There are no shortcuts taken with this piece in that regard, Brian.
I remember when I drew this was supposed to like a 3 or 4 page sequence. I thought, this will be. There was when that the room first appeared. I thought that would be literally just a couple of pages or 3 pages. But then I got the rest of the script, and it was the whole issue. And then we came back to it again, issue 4 or 5. I can't remember how many issues it was actually. It was 4 issues, but extra size, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I regretted designing the room that way, because it certainly wasn't that way in the script. But it was this, for me, I was trying to make this seem like it was this luxuriance of power and privilege that came with these people. So they were in a palace rather than just a room in a building, as written.
Well, it's fantastic. And Rich Donnelly has picked this one up. So thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, we go over here to lot number 5.
Oh, that one! I love drawing that one.
This is I mean, it's amazing to look at, right? I mean, it's priced at $1,000. It's on 22 by 17, one single board. That's a DPS from issue 4, and you couldn't have crammed any more characters in this if you tried, Brian.
I could have done. I rubbed a few out.
Well, it's
yeah. I literally there were more in there, but I actually ended up taking them out, but just because I ran out of time, and Andrew had to ink it. And when I got the inks back from him, I thought, can I fit them back in? Because you can see there's some white space there. I was going to fit a few more guys in, but even I have my limits.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know. You got to save yourself some time here or there, but it's pretty awesome. It really is, and it's. It's so busy, almost the color image beside it kind of helps us kind of isolate some of the characters that are in it. But yeah, it's spectacular.
Thank you. I think I haven't read the ongoing title with the Ultimates and so on, but I think those characters continue appearing at least, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Anthony's
claim. Thank you, Anthony.
We appreciate that. Yeah, this is really nice. And we have one other DPS from Ultimate Invasion as well. So, yeah, Alberto's reminding Anthony to type claim and the lot number. Yes, please. So, all right, well, this one's claimed. So we'll take a look at lot number 6 next. Again, from Ultimate Invasion, issue 4. This one's priced at $500. Just a nice, battle scene. Again, it's funny. I mean, you can miss some characters in here. Like even in the lower right-hand corner, you've got a couple of characters battling. And yeah, you just make sure that you don't leave any space untouched.
There's more space than you think.
All right.
The trick is actually to make something feel busy without being cluttered, because you need to know where people have to look. So that's the thing you deal with first, and the rest of it's kind of just a bit of gravy on the side. So people can then look beyond what they need to see. But if you put what they need to see where it needs to be, it never feels cluttered, or because you never have to worry about where you have to look on the panel or the page. But the rest of it is just the fun stuff where I like to kind of just add a little bit of extra in, because that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there's a lot going on this one, but you're right, and it doesn't feel busy. It really doesn't. So so this one's out there as well, $500 for lot 6, and we've got a couple more lots here from Ultimate Invasion, Lot 7. Another nice, 3-panel battle scene throughout. And this one's priced at $500, page 22 from issue 4. A nice big boot to the entire body.
Nothing like a good foreshortened boot shot, I think.
That is so true. Yeah, this is again just fun stuff, and whether it's you're filling it with action lines or energy movements, those sorts of things. Again, you definitely like to kind of keep things filled, and it's interesting how the colorist approaches some of the stuff. You can see like they take some of your blacks and kind of tone them down with color in the backgrounds, for instance.
Yeah, I always expect that, and Brad's really good at doing that with red coat, so I draw to that. I know what Brad's going to do, and we have such a good working relationship. But it's really nice, and again, same with Alex on this stuff. But you kind of know what they're going to do, so you can put certain stuff in, and the black and white artwork looks really full and rich. But you also know how they're going to pull the focus and work the color to develop that depth, which is nice.
Sure. All that familiarity does make your job a lot easier, right? Knowing how they're going to approach it.
Yeah, having a good working relationship and a good line of communication. I've been lucky with that with Paul Mounts, Laura, Alex, and now Brad. And Brad's just astonishingly talented too, as well as being just a lovely chap. So having those working relationships with those colorists and those long-term relationships makes it very easy to, deadlines aside, to kind of work with each other to get the best out of any given page, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one is Lot 7, still available at $500. Here is another DPS from issue 4.
Yeah, the big shot.
Exactly. And I mean, even for you, I would imagine this would be hard for us to know exactly how he was going to color it, or maybe not. Maybe he colored.
No, I had a pretty good idea. Yeah, I did have a good idea, and that was one of the quick ones for me. That, mind you, that said, the Ultimate Invasion had to be done pretty quick, start to finish. So, in fact, if anything has to categorize my last few years at Marvel, it would be pretty quick, because Venom and Ultimate Invasion, there was always so much to do. I mean, Ultimate Invasion was a 4-issue miniseries, and the deadline didn't change, even though the issues went from being 22 pages in some cases to 38 pages. Right. So the deadline didn't shift, but the page count often did.
Exactly. And you were doing a lot of covers, like you said, at that point as well.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite part, element of this is Reed, just all stretched out from the blast. I think that's that's really fun. And Mr. And the Senate. Yeah, see, Stingray said the same thing. Yep, exactly. So this is this DPS, again, one solid 22 by 17 board, not on 2 each. And on something like this, I have the art in hand, so you do put a little effects in there with it feels like flecks of white out, maybe to kind of put some of the particle effects in it.
Yes,
it's not a lot, but it's there. You can see it, and it just kind of. I mean, if you're looking at the art, you wouldn't even know that was what you did, but it does add. It adds to the overall effect of the energy blast. Yeah,
you do that with things like a toothbrush or a brush full of white paint flecked against the lid of the white paint jar, and you flick it at the art, and you get those splatters. I love doing that stuff.
Well, this one's still available. Monkey God said, I still think the color on Authority was part of the success of that book. Definitely.
Without doubt.
Yeah, that is so true. I recently reread Authority and marveled at the color that was, employed throughout that book. It really was an important part.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this was what, 98 I was doing that initially.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having, I hadn't even got email then, so I was talking to Laura, and I kept saying, you use color as a way of moving from scene to scene, use storytelling. So color is storytelling as much as the drawing is storytelling. If every scene is colored the same, nothing feels any different. So it's not just time of day, it's where are you? Every scene has to feel different. And Laura took that, and it was just superb. It was just way beyond what I'd expected. Because she's, Laura's like Brad, Laura's a painter. So, that's what you're taking in. I think colorist is one of those terms now, which is inherited, but it doesn't do when you're at the best with people like Brad and Laura and so on. And you're not really describing what they're doing, because they're painting and they're adding to the storytelling. It's not just special effects. It's how you move from scene to scene and place to place and time to time, and it enhances mood in the way a cinematographer does. It's, you can't just say the guy is sticking lights on in a scene. That you have to appreciate the artistry involved in cinematography, along with the direction that makes the scene what it is.
Agreed. Let's see here. So that was lot 8. We have lot 9 next. This is, I think this is the last page from the Ultimate Invasion that we have. So this one's priced at $450. Again, I just felt, and I didn't really realize why, but I think it is just the sheer amount of detail. I mean, this doesn't have this. Well, it does have the ceiling in it too, but it has most.
No, but the carpet is very well drawn. And there's a lot of good carpeting going on there.
It really is. And again, a lot of times, in this day and age, I'm not saying, any particular creator, but there are shortcuts to be made, and when you're having a repetitive pattern or something like that. But you did not take any shortcuts here.
For which I was seriously berated by Andrew, who had to ink all that stuff. I just put these squiggles in the pencil, and I was like, how long that carpet takes to ink.
Yeah. Well, that's well, anybody who's going to have to ink your work knows going into it that they're going to have their work cut out for them.
I do feel after, since how many years since the Authority, I think people know what they're getting in for.
Exactly. All right. Well, this is lot 9 at $450, and it's 11 by 17 and still available. So we can move on. So we're moving out of Ultimate Invasion here into some other Avengers/Ultimates related pieces. And one of my favorites was this Ultimate Avengers versus New Ultimates #1 cover.
You had that. Where did you get that one from? Was that one that came back from Rich?
It would have been one that came back from Rich. There
even though it was still available. Gosh, that goes back a bit. That's what, 15 years at least when I drew that.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. It's a little bit bigger than the other ones. This is 12 by 18 versus the 11 by 17s. I just thought it's a really, really nice image.
And that's my inking as well, isn't it? That doesn't look like it's Paul's inking.
Yeah.
Is it my inking or mine and Paul? No.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
I know exactly what that is. That's actually Paul and my inking.
Okay.
So Paul inked the figures and I inked the backgrounds, because what happened was that I penciled it and Paul started inking it. Then Paul got sick and the deadline came. And he said, I'm not going to be able to finish it. So I ended up inking the backgrounds as well. So the figures are actually inked by Neary, and the background is inked by me.
And I can, right on the back, it actually has Neary's name on it too. I didn't know.
Okay, there you go.
So there you have it. So part of it was by Neary and a little bit by you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is great. And there's no way that the Marvel movies didn't take some points from you with destructions of cities and character poses and team ups and things. I mean, you were working during that that period where those movies were coming out.
Even Joss, I'm very good friends with Joss. I've been for years, but I remember him telling me when he was doing Avengers, he said it's not just that we shot one of your double page spreads today. He said that just like in post production, we're just trying to get them to make the debris look like you drew the debris, and there's bits floating in the air, and it's like nobody considered all this stuff that's in the air as well. So, and then they have to throw all that stuff in the dust and the bits and the stuff floating around. I think, oh well, that's a bit of a legacy, I guess.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I don't think that there's an influence there without question. So lot 10 still available, $4,000. And I should let everybody know too. If you're watching the show after the fact on the rewind, anything you see that's unclaimed, you can shoot me an email, bill@comicartfans.com, and I'm happy to let you know whether or not it's still available. Any of the art that is not sold today will go up on CAF in the CAF classifieds later this evening. So if you don't feel like pulling the trigger now, there's plenty of opportunity on things that we don't sell to pick them up later. All right, so lot 11 is another cover. It's the second cover to that book. I think it might have been a variant. I'm not sure, but this one's at $2,500. Nice Nick Fury up front. And this one has Neary's name on the back as well. Mm-hmm. So is this all Neary's inks?
Yeah, that is that one. Yeah.
Very dynamic.
I don't remember drawing that one, but I guess I must have.
You've drawn a lot of covers in your time, Brian. So it's not surprising that there might be one or two out there that you don't remember.
I know we found. I don't know if you've got it on this list, but I know we had the cover for Age of Ultron issues 1 and 4. I think those were still around.
I do. I actually have the cover. Well, I don't know if I have the cover to 1, but I know I've got the cover to 4.
I thought that came in the package from Rich.
I'd have to go double check. It was funny. I actually found an FF cover yesterday. Well, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? Either way, that I didn't know I had. So I could very well have the cover to that issue 1, but I definitely have the cover to Age of Ultron 4. And
that was one I sent in that package. But I remember that you guys had because I'm pretty sure one of you showed me that it's the big one with Ultron and the fallen Avengers around it, but the Ultron figure. I'm pretty sure that original came back as well.
I will double check. I know that we got lists from Rich too, so I'll definitely.
Somebody just claimed lot 10.
I see that, Michael. Thank you, Michael. We sincerely appreciate that. That's like I said, that was one of my favorite pieces when I was going through the process of selecting which artworks to sell today. So, Michael, we appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Anybody that claims artwork today, remember to email me after the show, bill@comicartfans.com. We'll work out the details. And a nice reminder at this point, if there's, if a piece is a little bit out of your reach, we are willing to do time payments up to 90 days on any of the pieces that you want to claim today. Just need a deposit. And those are things that we can talk about after you email me after the show. All right. Congrats, Michael. So we'll take a look at the next one. This one's still available, lot number 11. Lot 12. I threw in a couple pieces from Ultimates V2.
Yeah, gosh, wow.
I really like this piece. And the thing is, what do I like about it? When you keep going back to it, you start seeing all the extra stuff you put into this. I miss some of the characters flying in the sky. Surprisingly, you just fill the space so well, Brian. And this is inked by Paul as well.
It is, yeah.
Just a nice action scene. If you like large mechs, this is your page, right? I mean, this is great. I love
that. That's also one of those times where I was actually in New York and I shot the scene, not the literal scene, but I shot the background plate for that myself, and then worked from that, and I did all the other stuff to it. But I over the years of visiting New York, I've taken a lot of reference pictures, but that was one of them. So.
Well, it's really well done. And again, the scale it's fun having that taxi cab right in front of the mech's foot, right? I mean, how big these are because of that. Yeah, this is a very, very nice piece. I'm just watching the chat. Michael says to thank his wife for the claim because she allowed him to do it. We totally get that, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. My wife is also grateful.
I think anyone who has a supportive spouse in this hobby, knows how important that is, because whenever I make a large purchase, I always talk to Maureen before I do it, just to make sure she's okay with it. Sometimes she has to see the art, sometimes she trusts my judgment. But yeah, that's wonderful. Congrats again, Michael.
Again, thank you.
All right, and this was on one board as well, 22 by 17.5. This one's still available from Ultimates 2, and the other page that I picked from Ultimates V2 was from issue 12, page 17. This was right before she goes giant size. I think the next page was a splash of her towering over the plane or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I remember. I haven't read that book in so long. I'd forgotten half the stuff that's in it. But yeah, I remember now. Vaguely, but I remember. I didn't realize we had as many of the Ultimate pages left as I thought. It's surprising. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I think we may have. I'd say like 8 other ones than the 2 that I'm showing here.
That's surprising. Okay. I mean, Ultimates pages, people.
Right, because there's no Ultimates V1 pages any longer. Those I would have to assume those went pretty quick, because that was such a popular book that. Those had to have been high in demand. I mean, if I were able to, I'd definitely pick up a page from that book. But we don't have anything from that.
I don't see it often for resale either.
No, not at all. And that's a good thing. There are some storylines that people just love. And they're they're not going to part with those pieces.
Unless... I mean, the 8-page spread from volume 2, that was volume 2, wasn't the 8-page spread? Was it volume 1? Anyway, the 8-page spread sold to a collector in Japan at the time. Literally, as soon as it came out, I've never seen it for sale anywhere else since. And that was what, 15 years ago, 17 years ago.
Smart buyer. Yeah, I mean, the way the art market is today, it's it's best to hold when you can, because those pieces, again, they don't come up too often, and they're irreplaceable, Brian. That's the thing that we're seeing a lot today.
I mean, I guess other than the issue 1 cover, that 8-page spread is the other Ultimates piece that is the piece, isn't it? So.
All right, well, this one's still available, and I'm going to switch over to Age of Ultron. So this is that issue 4 cover.
Yes.
Luke Cage doing what we like Luke Cage to do. And this actually has a separate 11x17 prelim. I didn't take I didn't.
Oh, yes, I've forgotten to send that too. Yeah.
Yep. So I've got that. If I have that, I'll let people know. I think only a couple of the pieces I have the prelim as well. But again, this is inked by Paul, and I love this series. And we don't have a lot of art from Age of Ultron. I think maybe, again, it might be another 6 or 8 pages other than this and the other, and a DPS that I'm going to show in a minute.
I actually do have a lot of other Age of, I don't know how much I sent you, but I've certainly got a lot of Age of Ultron artwork at home.
Oh, good.
So yeah, it's odd. I was supposed to. When I took it on, it was originally a 1-shot. Then it became a 5-issue series, and then Bendis expanded it to a 10-issue series. But by then, the contract was up with.
How do you get? You seem to get yourself into these projects that expand, and I don't quite understand why. But I mean, it keeps you busy. I guess if you're working on a page rate, I mean, in a weird way, that's good. But boy, you've been involved with projects that have a lot of creep to them that expand.
Yeah, it's true. But actually, I should have done the whole 10 issues, but my contract would have been up with Marvel at the end of issue 5, and they came back to me and said, "Yeah, we're happy for you to finish the series, but we want you to take a pay cut." DC offered me a far better deal, so it wasn't rocket science when you're trying to earn a living. As much as I would like to have stayed on, I didn't want to stay on for half the price I was originally working at. So
of course not. Well, it was Marvel's loss.
I would have liked to have finished the story, all in, but yeah.
All right. Well, we have this one's still available, and I have 1 DPS as well, and just a great Thor DPS image here, all on one board, hitting Ultron, and again, well colored. It's priced at $1,000, 17.5 by 22-inch board, and just it's awesome. I love the way you draw Thor. As a Thor fan myself.
Yeah, there's a couple of times I've come close to doing a fairly large scale Thor series, and for one reason or another, it didn't quite come together. But Thor is one of those characters I wish I'd got a chance to delve into, because I love the idea of the mythology, like Walter did, back in the 80s. I just think that's a terrific run, and I would have loved to have done something, I guess, similar. There was a relaunch. Johnny Jr. got that Thor relaunch I wanted to do with Dan Jurgens,
right?
Which is why I ended up doing Stormwatch. So the rest is history in that respect, because then that led to Authority and the other stuff. But I was kind of cross to have missed out on that particular one. But I can't fault it because Johnny was terrific. So
right, that's one of. I mean, Jurgens' writing on that was great, and yeah, that was a good series. It would have been interesting to see your take on that, though.
I don't think we'd have had anything that I came to later, but I think Johnny had more power to what he was doing. He was much closer to Kirby, I guess. And as I say, I wouldn't have ended up on the Authority, so it's kind of I like where I ended up.
Sure. Jason wants to know if any Authority pages are still lying around. I don't believe there are.
I don't think so. No.
Sad to say. But that is the case. Those pages were highly in demand. They still are highly in demand. I want to get a page from your run on Authority. But yeah, they never come up. So
there is, I mean, if I don't know if he's interested, I know I sent it to you, but there is, I do have
that. Yes, there is a commission style piece that you did. I have that.
Yeah, I didn't do it for anybody in particular. I did it because I just wanted to draw it. And so there is a single sheet, double page spread of the Authority. And I'm partway through just for fun doing a recreation of the original issue 1 cover, just because it's the second time I've revisited it. So if there's any interest in that, there's certainly a couple of Authority pieces that are very specific. They're not from the series, but they are by me. And that might make a difference. I don't know.
I could definitely post that up to the classifieds, at some point soon too. But this one's still available, and it's lot 15 at $1,000. And let's see, what was this next one? A new Avengers finale cover, issue 1, crammed with characters, Wolverine up front. But again, you look at the artwork, and it's amazing how much detail you put into it. And then again, you can see how the color is kind of faded it back, so it gets to maintain all of the details in the background and pop the characters. But yeah, you put a lot of work in this one.
Yeah, I actually remember where I was when I drew that too. It was my kitchen table. We not long just had our youngest son, and so I was up sitting very late inking that one, whilst hoping he'd stay asleep long enough that I could finish some of the backgrounds. I remember that. It was. So was that 14 years ago, 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's funny. I mean, again, you remember the moment. You
do. I can almost remember what I was listening to actually when I drew it.
Wow. Well, it is an amazing piece of art, and Alberto has claimed this one. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you. Yes, I just missed that one, but thank you, Alberto. That's terrific.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, I think I've got, what do I have here? Oh, I know where I'm going from here. So this, keeping a little bit of the the Avengers theme, I've got a couple Captain America Reborn pages, and they're both from the same. This one's from issue 3, 18 and 19 is a DPS, and I've actually got the following page from this as well. But we have a lot of pages from Captain America Reborn, so there's a fair amount of those I need to release. But I just really like this DPS in the next one, just all action. You get those are scrolls flying all over the place. I mean, again, it's just a great, fun image here, and a solid 17.5 by 22 board.
Yeah. Butch and I had a lot of fun on that book. It was, I mean, Butch is phenomenally quick, and actually, a lot of conversations I had with him at the time we were doing that helped me kind of get my own stuff together to be similarly quick.
Mm-hmm.
But Butch inks almost entirely the way I see inks in my head. I remember John Byrne talking about this years ago, where he said that Tony DeZuniga inked him more the way he saw it in his own head, and it wasn't necessarily what readers expected from him, because what they wanted was Byrne and Austin from the X-Men. That's what readers saw, but in his own head, what he saw was what DeZuniga gave him. And this is like me with Butch. Butch inked the way I saw the drawings in my head. So I had a great time working with him. Because he's such a terrific artist, you can also just trust him that if you're running short of time and you want to jump to breakdowns for a couple of pages, it's going to be just as good when he's finished with it. But I loved his kind of broad, brushy, confident, big style on that stuff. I absolutely adored it.
Yeah, as do I. I mean, Butch is amazing, right? And he's one of those creators that has no problem kind of, whether he's penciling a book or inking a book, he does an amazing job.
I think he's vastly underrated or underappreciated anyway, certainly. I think underrated is one of those words I don't like too much, because I think anybody that knows his work really does rate him, but I think he is underappreciated.
I would not argue with you. He's a gentleman that we'd love to get to OAX one day. I can tell you that. He doesn't go to too many shows, but he's high on our list for that very reason, right? I think like you said, I wouldn't call him underappreciated. I think people kind of forget about how incredibly talented he is. So, yeah, I agree with you entirely.
I'm glad there's a lot of that Reborn artwork out there, because I might even go through it with you, because there might be a couple of pieces I want to keep. But
I'd be happy to do that with you. Yeah, there's oh my gosh, there's there was so much to choose from with the Reborn series, trying to figure out.
You know, it's interesting looking at that Giant Man figure as well, because especially when they're butching the expression, it just reminds me of and nobody's probably going to understand or appreciate, but it reminds me of Don Heck. And Don Heck is another one of those guys I think was grotesquely underappreciated. But I loved his stuff growing up as a kid because it always felt like there was a lot of energy in it and a lot of expressionism in it. And even though that, I think by the time I was reading his stuff in the 70s, the late 70s and the 80s, he was probably, because he'd been working in comics since the 40s, so he'd already been well into his career. In fact, as well into his career, realistically, as I am currently into mine. So I have to say this with a certain degree of, appreciation. But I just think that Don was constantly overlooked for how good he was and how energetic he was. And when you paired him with a good inker who could polish the work and finish it, I thought his stuff was terrific. When he did that stuff on Justice League with Brett Breeding, for instance, I just thought that stuff was just really, really good. Loved that. And actually, that shot that Butch inked over there on the close-up of Giant Man just reminds me of what I loved about Don Heck's artwork. So it's something classically Marvel to me about that.
Well, you and I will have to talk a bit afterwards about the Reborn pages that are still here, because we've got there's pages from every issue, and they're all, and yeah, some of them are pretty amazing.
I know Butch loved that. Was one of Butch's favorite pages, that shot of Thor. He just, what I said about Butch inking stuff, the way I saw it in my head is just like that he got the line and the way I think I was groping for and reaching for. But to him, he told me at the time I drew that double page spread that I was drawing the kind of stuff that he wishes he could have penciled. So I think there was something about us as a team, and I would love to revisit that actually again. I would love to have him work with me on something, because I think there's something for me that just is a really good blend of both of our experiences and skills, and I would love to see that go a bit further.
No, it's nice to hear, really. And every time people see a nice Thor page, they think I should own it. There are a lot. I mean, you have some Thor covers here as well. I mean, so there's plenty of Thor to go around. They're not all for me, everybody. And I even, I picked up a Thor piece from you a while back.
You did the commission piece,
yeah.
I know.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, but no, I thought this was exceptional. And again, it's a DPS following a DPS, so these were sequential. And 18 and 19 was the pages on the first one, and this is 20 and 21 again on one board. So where am I going to from here? Okay, so now we're out of that. I think we're going to leave the Avengers kind of universe and just move into a lot of different ones. And so I kind of sort of tried keeping things a little bit alphabetical. This is the Cover to Annihilation #1, very memorable image. I think they used it a bit to promote that story. I remember seeing it a bit when it came out. It's a oversized piece, 17 and a half.
Was it really? Okay.
Now I got to double check. No, it's actually not. I hate to say it. I think I made a mistake by not carrying over the or changing it. It is 11 by 17. I'm measuring it just to be sure.
Okay.
11 by 17 and a half.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the writing on the top. It looks normal sized. So.
Yeah. No, that's my bad. Typo from me. I was working until like 1:30 last night trying to price and get these things all scanned. So I apologize if everybody's size is wrong on that one. But again, really fun piece. And this one, what year was this? So I'm not even sure.
Can I just answer the question? So ML's asked about any Batman's Grave pages coming up. I have a lot of Batman's Grave artwork. I haven't sold very much of it. I've got a lot of it at home. So if there's anything specific, just contact Bill and we can figure it out. If I've got the pages, fair enough. But so the most of the Batman's Grave is hanging up in my studio.
Okay, I know I actually do have one Batman Graves page here,
you got a whole couple of issues, didn't you? Actually,
I think we have most. We have one almost complete issue and a couple covers as well. So
that's right. You got all the remaining covers. So yeah, ML, if there's anything specifically you want, email, because there is a lot of Batman's Grave available.
All right. Well, speaking of available, Lot 19 still available, the cover to Annihilation #1. And then switching over to a Captain Britain cover. This is issue 7. And there's like, I think, another 5 or 6 Captain Britain covers here as well.
All linked by Andrew Curry, actually.
I did not know that. But this one's just beautiful. I mean,
thank you. That's Curry as well. That was Andrew. We did that not long after our Fantastic Four stuff. He was still sharing a studio with me, so he was he would drop in and out of working on some stuff depending on how much time I had. And at that point, I wasn't inking a lot of my own covers because I was still trying to figure out some of that stuff. And I think they're quite large format as well. They're slightly bigger than 11 by 17.
Yeah, the size is right on this one, 14.5 by 21.5. Yeah, trust me, this one was sitting out, and when my wife came in, she was like, "Oh, that's really nice." So that of all the, because I had all the Marvel artwork spread out and everything, this was the piece she saw, and she was like, "Wow, that's a good one." I'm like, "Yeah."
Actually, I really enjoyed doing those, and I really liked the way they came out. A lot of them, there's a few of them that I was genuinely delighted with. In fact, Andrew asked to keep one of them, and has got it on the wall of his studio. So he obviously really enjoyed it too. So.
Well, that's cool. Human Spider has a question for you, and I'll what's harder, buildings or animals to draw, and I'll switch over to the next slide. So this is 20.
Well, to quickly answer that, buildings I find very easy. Animals you have to learn. I keep having this conversation. Gary Frank, Gary loves drawing animals, though he's just drawn an issue of Geiger, which is almost entirely animal based, built on Barney and Barney's relationship with other mutated animals, and it's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous work. But even by the end of that, Gary was like, "I don't ever want to draw fur again in my entire life." So yeah, the thing is, buildings are easy because they're big square, little square. Animals are organic and furry and expressive. And they're not people, so you can't draw them like people, even though they're all mammals. And you can think, oh, I see that. When I draw enough horses, you can see where the biceps are and the triceps and the quads and all that stuff. But they don't look like people, so it's still different. It's harder because you have to learn something. Where buildings, you can do big square, little square, or frankly, you can trace them if you want to be like that. Animals.
Right, and with a Pegasus, you have no reference either, so you really have to get it right.
Yeah, you can't. I've never found an animal shot, a dynamic animal shot you can trace and make it look real any more than you can trace a wrestler and make it look like a superhero fighting. It just doesn't work. You can look at it and you can take it and understand it and try and figure it out, but you can't trace it. It never works. You can't trace photo ref. It just doesn't work. Buildings more so, but you can't trace anything organic and think it's going to look right. It just doesn't work.
Sure. I saw a question from Monkey God about the Captain Britain covers. That's the only one that I'm showing today, but if you'd like to shoot me an email, I can let you know which other ones are available. So Bill at comicartfans.com for that. And yeah, like I said, I think there's at least 5 other covers from Captain Britain that Brian did that I have in my possession here. We could talk about it.
Groovy.
All right, well, I think we're halfway through all the lots today, so we'll switch over to the thing we talked about earlier. This is that Hulk video game art that the ad didn't capture the amount of effort that you put into this piece, and maybe it was used in different ways and different places and everything, but this is just they're all incredibly impressive because they're so large. But the cityscape underneath the Hulk, that Hulk leaps, this is what you expect, right? You expect to have this a full figure like this, and this piece is 16 by 23.5. It's really large and incredibly impressive. And when we talk about wall power artworks, this is that and more.
Yeah, I love drawing the Hulk, honestly. I love that massive muscular physique. Again, that's another book I've come close to a few times. Once with Jason Aaron, actually, almost doing, and it's never quite gelled. But I just love that massive muscular physique thing that the Hulk's got. I don't think I'd ever get tired of drawing it, honestly, because I just love. Because also when you do the Hulk in action, the destruction's so massive too. I'd love to draw that, and I loved that part of the Ultimates. All the double page spreads that we did with the Hulk
Mhm.
came because they had to be double page spreads because the Hulk's so big. And when I've done Hulk covers in the past, I've always drawn them large size because you just need that with the musculature. I can't draw it small.
Well, yeah, you were definitely born to draw the Hulk. That's for sure. So this is, and I know I got an email about the other artwork too. So
Okay, groovy.
sure let them know about that. But again, you look at the cityscape on this. I mean, you spared no detail. It looks like it was, it's photorealistic almost the way you've taken the time to finish this piece. I mean, it really is amazing.
It's interesting. I remember that piece well because it was one of those moments where I realized how to draw a nighttime cityscape, both in the way I drew it and the way I could get somebody else to ink it. Because actually, Andrew inked the background for that one for me. But I remember realizing that when you pencil for somebody else to ink, what you draw in something like that, you draw the shapes of the lights only. You don't draw the blacks. You just draw the lights in. Then if everybody else just outlines the lights and fills in the blacks around it, that's what you get. So every time I've drawn a nighttime cityscape, I've only ever drawn the lights. I haven't drawn the buildings, just the light shapes. But that was the time when that was a shot. I remember realizing that that's how you did it.
And well, how you almost think that it should be, almost like painted on, like it's all black, and the lights in the windows would be painted on after, but there is no white out at all in the building.
No, that's right. That's so you do it like a negative. So you just literally outline where the lights are. Everything else is black. And once you've filled that all in, it suddenly kind of takes shape. When you're drawing it, and I've done this myself when I'm inking it, you're inking all the little lights, just outlining the lights and the shapes of the lights. It doesn't look like anything until you put all the black in. Then when you put the black in, all that negative space is what it's called. So the whites become dominant within the black, and it suddenly works.
Well, it's amazing and still available. Lot 21 at $2,500. So next up is a very different title. This was Fantastic Force #2 cover with the villains, I think, of the issue, right? Which was kind of an interesting one, and then we actually have another, I think at least one other cover from Fantastic Force as well, maybe even two, like the issues 3 and 4. But this is oversized, 15 by 21.5, and again, beautiful. A lot of detail. Again, it's like you're not leaving anything to chance. There's no wasted space.
That was an interesting series. So Joe Ahern is a writer-director over here who's done so many TV shows, including almost the bulk of the first season of Russell Davies's Doctor Who way back in the day, Ultraviolet, loads of dramas. A massive comic fan too, and an old friend, and he stepped in when we needed a guest writer on Fantastic Four towards the end of Mark and I's run, and then spun that out on his own. But it's actually these are the only comics he wrote. I don't know why he didn't actually, probably because comics don't pay as much as TV and film do, I suppose, which is why he didn't keep it up. But he got to do some comics, and I got to do some covers for a book a friend wrote, which is always cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I wondered how they got you to work on the covers for this, but again, fantastic image. Surprised to see it in the set that we got back, but really, really well executed. This one's at $3,000. Lot 22 still available. Then what is next? Oh, we're gonna move into some Fantastic Four stuff now.
Okay.
We have a fair amount of Fantastic Four pieces to show off. This is a cover, oversized. It's 15 by 21.5. It's the cover to 557. And this issue had some amazing battle scenes throughout it. This one's priced at $4,000. Lot 23. I know that looks like Galactus in the back. I think it's like that Mecha Galactus thing that Reed invented, or I can't recall exactly the storyline. But,
is that what it is? I can't remember. I just assumed looking at it was Galactus, but all right, fair enough.
Oh, there is a cover out there. But yeah, this one's very, very, because I think like there's a splash page from this one with the kind of mech version of him in the middle of
Okay.
Central Park. I probably should have included that one with this, but yeah, you get all 4 characters from the team on this one, and
I'm just looking at the
really like
inking. I think that's me, isn't it? It doesn't look like it's Neary.
No, this one's all you. But yep, very cool. Like I said, I even found well, here actually the next piece is a cover I didn't know I had. So it was just kind of in a stack that I hadn't gone through yet. But so this one's still available. Lot 23 at $4,000, covered at FF 557. Then this one, I don't know how I didn't see this initially when I was going through some of the organizing of the artwork, but this is the cover to 562, $4,000. Look at all the number. I mean, how many? I'm not going to count the number of characters on there, but there's got to be at least 20. So you get She-Hulk and Iron Fist and Spider-Man, Captain Marvel. I mean, you get a lot of characters on this one. This was like the funeral for the Invisible Woman. It was kind of post that Galactus storyline.
Right. Yeah, it was. And actually, just quickly to answer Southern Comic Geeks, yes, I did ink that whole piece.
Ah. Oh, thank you guys. I didn't see that when I was switching slides. There you go, Southern Comic Geek. Again, and I think this one.
That's my inks as well, by the way.
This is all you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so that one is still available. Now we've got. We have some interiors here. So this is an interior page from 562. It's on a larger board as well, 15 by 21.5, and we have it priced at $650. I thought we had to have a nice Doom image in the set since he's been in the news a lot of late, but just a good conversation page between Reed and Victor.
Yeah, it's interesting how much. Oh, thank you, Matthew. It's interesting how I'm noticing a lot of the online media where they've been touting the whole Robert Downey Doctor Doom stuff, is that a lot of the artwork has been lifted from this Fantastic Four run, strangely enough.
Interesting.
I don't know why that is. It's just that I guess when people have done searches for Doom visuals to go with it, they've ended up on mine. But even that shot there, I've seen that close up you've got there. Has showed up on the social media stuff a few times I've seen.
Well, it's a good one, and I can tell you there's a fair amount of other pages with Doom in them as well that we have available. So this one was claimed by Matt. Thank you, Matt. Can't go wrong with the Dr. Doom page at all. Now this next one I've kind of put in for fun, and I have the following page after it. But again, another fantastic cityscape, which we've just gone into great detail on how you draw them, but just just a fun kind of whimsical moment, right? And I liked it a lot. So this is from 562, page 17. That cityscape alone is makes this page amazing. Again, no white out at all.
Ben's relationship there, when Mark and I were doing this, we were originally, because we'd done the wedding of back in the 60s, they did the wedding of Reed and Sue. So we wanted to do Ben's wedding at some point. So we were building up to that. We didn't get round to it for one reason or another. But the idea was eventually we were going to get to Ben's wedding, and it was going to be just as big a kind of Marvel character event as Reed's wedding to Sue was. But we wanted to do that because Reed had it. We wanted Ben to have it too.
Nice.
Didn't happen. But anyway.
No, it didn't. But it's interesting to hear the things that you guys were contemplating, during that time when you were working on the book. Now, this one is still available. So the next one is going to be the supersized page that I mentioned is the only really large piece that I brought. It's not certainly the only one that I have, but this is it's just a spectacular image.
Oh, right? The double page spread, yeah.
Yeah, with Spider-Man. It's incredible. It's incredible to see. Again, you have the cityscape in there, so well done, and you still get that moment with Ben as well. I mean, I just think this is an amazing piece, and it's 21.5 by 27. So it's big, but these ones I can ship flat still. This size here, I've done it a few times already. Oh, and Matt has claimed this one. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. I'd kind of set this one. I've looked at it numerous times because it's one of my favorite pieces. It's just it's so dynamic. You draw Spider-Man really well, and of course, you've gotten the opportunity through many of the kind of epic storyline books that you worked on with Marvel that you got to draw Spider-Man. So, you know, I just thought this one was really great. So, congrats, Matt.
Thank you.
You're gonna really
never done a story with Spider-Man though. But it was one of those. I did a few covers when I went back to Marvel. Nick Lowe, who was my former assistant editor on the Ultimates and became the Spider-Man editor. He got me to do some covers for Sinister War. Love doing those, but Spider-Man's one of those characters I do wish I'd had a chance to do a proper run with, because you know that double-page spread was literally just me taking what was a moment. I mean, I don't think it was even the script that Ben was showing his girlfriend this kind of view of New York, and I thought, well, Marvel New York has to have Spider-Man in it. So it turned into that.
Brilliant. Well, this is it's going to a good home. Thank you, Matt. We both appreciate that one. Now we're still doing a few FF pieces here. So this was from issue 565, and you know, they're fighting this kind of tentacle creature, kind of a dark storyline. But I think it's a really fun page. I like that fourth panel with Reed trying to wrap up the situation. And you know, it's a bit out of control, but I just thought it was.
Oh yeah, that was the Christmas one, wasn't it? Yeah. So I've got a double page spread from that. I keep at home in my office, and it was a double page spread, but I actually drew it print size unusually. So it's the smallest double page spread I've ever drawn. And it's one of my favorite pieces I did. It's my favorite Fantastic Four piece. I inked it myself too, but I had to do it in an afternoon. So the only way I could get it done was to do it tiny. So I did it tiny, and it remains one of my favorite pieces. And I won't sell it. I've still got it at home.
Well, this one, I think the note on it is Cam Smith inks.
Could be. Looks possibly like, yeah, you're right. Actually, definitely looks like it. Looking at it closely. That's definitely not mine inks. It's not Andrew's ink, so it must have been Cam, because he did do a few pages back then. So,
All right. Well, this one's priced at $450 and still available. Now I've got. I think this is the only other FF cover that we've got.
Yes.
Available for the show. I have a few others, but this one I thought was really nice. It's from Annual 32. It's oversized, 14.5 by 21.5, priced at $3,500. Just great team shot, you know, in your face, like, you know, exactly, you know, the kind of just, it's just good. And I think drawing Reed's hand as large as it is behind Ben, I mean, it's just a fun image as well. I mean, the composition is great. You fill the page. Again, you don't leave any room for anything else to go on here. And it came out really well.
Thank you. I do like those characters. I did enjoy elements of what, I don't think it was as good a run as we could have made it, honestly. But I just don't think I'd ever get tired of drawing them. Ben, especially once you get the hang of drawing Ben, and realize you can't draw him realistically, he has to be a cartoon. But I do remember just loving, once I got into the mood, the mode and the right kind of mood for it. It's a great book to deal with.
Well, this is nice, and like I say, I know there's probably at least 3 to 5 other FF covers that we have. One that's actually gigantic. It's probably like that Hulk image where it's amazing.
Is that the one of Sue, the full figure of Sue with the?
I forget what issue it's in a weird way. It's similar. Might be a similar pose to this, but because it's so large, she's, you know, larger than life in the image, because it's on at least you know, that 24 by 32 size board.
Right.
I feel like I'd have to go back and see which issue that was from, or I can show you after we're done with the show.
Okay, cool.
Time. But this one's still available. Lot 29, $3,500 for that. Now, lot 30.
Oh,
I didn't know I had these. The Generation X page. We actually have a couple from your. I don't. How many issues did you do from this? I don't think it was many, right?
It wasn't, but there were. I was kind of a fairly semi-regular fill-in artist on the X books around that kind of mid-90s period. So I did quite a lot of X material then. X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, a couple of miniseries. So yeah, I was around for a while on that stuff for about 3 years, I think.
Right. Yeah, this is Paul Neary's inks for issue 28. That's Banshee and Emma Frost. How old is this one? I forget.
Mid-90s, I think. Mid to late 90s.
Okay. Yeah, Stingray's saying
96-ish, maybe. 97. There you go, 97. Yeah, that's probably about right. Because it was before Stormwatch, and Stormwatch was 98. So was Authority. So it'd have to be 96, 97.
Yeah.
Oh, I did some Excalibur as well. I did a couple of Excalibur issues then too. I dotted around the X office in general for several years.
Yeah, I think we may have 2 pages from Excalibur. I think they're kind of Colossus-centric pages. I have to go look back on those, but and then maybe like I say a couple here. And I know that we have we have some pages from X-Men 95. If I'm not mistaken, that annual, a lot of Bishop-related artwork and a smattering of X-Men Brood pages as well. So yeah, you did stay in the X universe for a little bit. All right. Well, this one is still available now. This one from Mystech Wars. This is from the first issue, page 3. Nick Fury getting he's not killed here in this shot, although it looks like he's dying. He's not.
Lots of people died in that, but didn't.
Right, exactly. But and when was this done? I don't think it has a stamp on
92. I drew that. 92.
This is really early. This is 30 plus years old.
Yeah, and Monkey God's claimed that one too.
Oh, congrats, Monkey God! Thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, that was 92 because I moved down to London in 92 from the far north of England, and the first big book I did for Marvel UK then was Mystech Wars, and that was that was early on in it. So that was probably about October, November 92. I drew that. I think it came out in 93, but it was October. It was 92. I drew it.
And I know we have a few other interiors from this book. I can't remember which ones. I think maybe there's a DPS. Not a lot of character. Yeah, I can't remember what because I know that there were a lot of like expansive images with a lot of heroes on them, but I don't think we have any that are quite like that. But it was a good story. And
I think I have some more stuff at home too. I'm not sure yet. I've got a bunch of Marvel UK stuff from the 80s and 90s that I haven't really gone through yet.
Okay. Well, clearly it's in demand. We appreciate Monkey God picking this one up. And let's see here. Where was it? I saw Jason was asking where's the Excalibur. It's not. I'm not showing those tonight. But I mean, if you have any interest, I know Jason knows how to reach out to me. I can certainly
great.
Show you what is available. And let's go on to the next one here. Lot 32. And this is a little bit more recent, I guess. I mean, from Punisher 11. It's on 12 by 18 board, priced at $17.50. We do have a couple other Punisher covers from around the same.
That was about 15 years ago, wasn't it?
Is it that long? Was it really?
Well, I was in a previous. So it's got to be at least 13 years ago because I was in a previous studio when I drew those. And that was before Bertie was born, and Bertie's 14. So it would have been about maybe 13, 14 years ago.
Well, it's and it is inked by Paul too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's right. So this was before I left, before my contract was up with Marvel, and I left to go and do some creator-owned stuff and then DC. So yeah, it would be at least that time. It would be 13 years ago, I think. Right,
and we can answer the question from Lord of Fleck and let them know that there is no red coat artwork. I don't think you've at this point.
No. We may have a red coat sale later down the line, but right now I'm not currently selling any.
Yep.
But there may be some. We might do some later.
Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling, it's too personal right now, right? I mean,
Right.
working on it, I totally get that. I think it's great that you're holding on to it, but at some point in time, there may be something out there, Lord of Fleck.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I'm probably not going to sell issue 1. I'm certainly not going to sell the first cover.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the later stuff, we might work on a sale for some of that stuff going down the line, but probably next year, maybe.
Okay. Well, let's see here. We have lot 33 next to look at, and that is from She-Hulk.
Oh, wow, She-Hulk. Yeah, wow.
Somebody, strangely enough, asked about Death's Head, so the timing was right. I don't know if they're looking over my shoulder or not, or reading my notes, but just a really nice page. Priced at $1,000. This is on 13 by 20. It has some effects done on a.
That's the old Big Bleed page I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming Fat Doc wants to say claim lot 33. So if that's true, just confirm it for me, Fat Doc, and we'll set that one aside. What was interesting was you actually had, you probably don't know this, but there's actually a character piece that you did as I'd like to draw Death's Head in this way, with some of your notes on it that I have here. It was really kind of cool, and I kind of set it aside because I thought, well, that might be one that you and I might want to talk about, because it had some notes to the editor about how you wanted to handle the character and draw the character. It was nicely written kind of notes.
Okay, I don't remember that.
But Fat Doc, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got a good one. And again, you don't see a lot of your pages from She-Hulk come up either.
I've got quite a few at home, actually.
Oh, well, I think they'll be interesting. Like I say, we actually have a complete issue, so we'll have to talk about that afterwards too.
Okay, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you, Fat Doc, for that one. Just remember, anybody who's claiming who hasn't worked with us before, you're going to email me after the show, bill@comiccardfans.com, and we'll work out all the payment details and shipping and all that fun stuff. All right. So we've got, I think, 7 more pieces to look at. This is one I showed you before the show because we needed to talk about it. I wasn't really even sure what it was from, but Ultra Force versus Magneto on 18 by 24. I mean, this is I can tell you right now, it's written at the top. It says it was done April 24th, 1995.
Yeah.
So, 29 years old. I mean, this is so incredible. Again, you
1995. So I was 25 when I drew that. I'm 54 now. So it shows you how it's like 30 years ago.
Now we have a price of $2,500. You were telling me that there was a pitch to do something, and just so everybody knows.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a what was it? There was an Ultra Force and Avengers book that came out just after this, like in June of 1995.
Right. So there was that. That was, I think, originally commissioned as a cover for it, and so I know. So I mean, my memory of this is fairly vague because I was mostly working for doing some stuff for Malibu at the time, doing a bunch of covers. They wanted me to do something more significant. I think that might have been the time Marvel bought Malibu. But there was supposed to have been a series I was going to do, which was going to be the Malibu end of a Malibu, like Ultra Force versus Avengers thing. Now I drew that cover for Marvel, or at least I remember doing it for them, but it could have been that I drew it for Malibu, and then when Marvel bought Malibu, they inherited it. So I'm not wholly specific, but you can see from the Black Knight in the left-hand side of it that in the original artwork he's got a beard, stubble, and so on. And in the printed version, which I think was used as a pin-up, he hasn't, because he'd been de-aged in the Avengers book since I drew it. So I'm not wholly cognizant of why I did it and in what circumstance, but I'm vaguely remembering what I'm saying. I apologize for being unspecific, but it was 30 years ago. And yeah. Anyway.
Right. I mean, I was only able to find a colored image of this. That's what I have shown here. I did not dig into, trying to read online any of the Avengers Ultra Force published comics that came out right around that period to see if this was used as a pinup or not. So we can't say that it was published at all, but it certainly was meant to.
No, it was published, but it was published in an Avengers annual as a pinup, I think.
All right. Well, then I'll have to look around. I'm going to make a note to dig it up because I saw Jason was asking if we can confirm it's published. I think.
Yeah, it was published, but as you see, that colored image is the one that was published, but it wasn't published as originally intended, because you can see by the divide, it was intended to be a cover with Magneto on the front section. Magneto, I think, was in the Avengers at the time. It's very vague. As I say, it was 30 years ago, and continuity changes very swiftly. But I was doing quite a bit of work for Malibu at the time. I did a lot of covers for them. So this was mid-90s. So yeah, there was definitely some. It was definitely building on some of the stuff. I'm pretty sure I drew that for Malibu, but Marvel ended up publishing it because they
bought them. Yeah, I remember there was a thing that they didn't want DC to get them, and because then DC would have been a bigger publisher than them, so they made the strong pitch to buying Malibu in the mid-90s. But yeah, I'll dig around too. And there's a guy we call the Professor in the chat. He's very, very knowledgeable. He says that he's going to ask the Professor to help dig around too to find it, because
I'm pretty certain it was published as a pinup, a double-page pinup in either an annual or a special, but it wasn't published at the time it was done. I think because although it says you're saying 95, is that what's on the original artwork?
Yeah, written at the top. It says.
Yeah, because I remember showing Paul the original for that when I was, because I'm pretty sure it was published about a year later, or within a year from me doing it, but it was not published as originally intended, which I say is why Black Knight looks different in print on the colored version than he does in the original artwork, because again, he'd been de-aged in continuity. So I think he was a teen in continuity versus how I'd based him on the original artwork, because that was what was referenced at the time.
All right, makes sense. Well, I'll send you a scan, Jason, so you can send it to the Professor to dig around. Happy to do that.
Okay.
But cool. So we have that's slot 34. 35 is the last of the Marvel pieces that I've got. This was a cover from Wolverine, the Best There Is, issue 9.
I did a whole series for that.
You did? Yeah. And I know we have a few other ones from this run as well. This is, again, the covered issue 9, priced at $22.50. And yeah, these were all very dynamic covers, one way or another. But I think we have maybe 6 or 7 other covers from this.
Oh, Michael's claimed that one. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah, I recently come across photocopies of these in a pile, and I'd forgotten I'd even done them until Rich sent that stuff back, and you'd seen that stuff. But I'd forgotten about those, and some of them I'm actually really genuinely pleased with. So it's interesting going back to that stuff. And I know you've got, as you say, you have a few more if anybody else was interested. But that I'd completely forgotten about those until quite recently. Right.
Well, when we talk after the show, I mean, if there's anything you would want, pieces returned because you want to keep a copy, a page for yourself, where I can work that out.
Okay, cool.
All right, so that is the last Marvel piece that we've got. So I put 5 DC pieces in to kind of keep the DC fans happy as well. Let's see. First up was a Batman Graves page. This is from issue 2, page 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. And I think we had the most pages from issue 2. I think I might have.
That's because that. So yeah, I penciled that. So Batman's Grave is an interesting story. So I drew issue 1 from the script. I had penciled issue 1 and sent it to Kevin to ink. And thank you, Fat Doc, for that one. Mm-hmm. Then Warren emailed and said there's going to be a short pause between my scripts for issue 1 and issue 2. And I said, oh, how long of a pause? He said about 6 months, because he had to work on Castlevania, and he was struggling a bit. And so Dan Didio said, well, the only thing I can give you to start next week is, if you want to do it, is Hawkman. And I didn't particularly want to do Hawkman, but I had such a nice time. I knew Rob, but I had such a nice time working on that book. I ended up staying for a whole 12 months and doing 12 issues. But by the time I came back to it, Kevin had gone on to other stuff. So I had this fully penciled issue 2 I'd drawn while I was doing Hawkman that Kevin couldn't ink on the schedule. So Kevin jumped straight to issue 3, at least part-time. And I ended up inking issue 2. So that's why you have so much of that, is because I'd done the whole thing. But only because it's just the way it worked out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I love that series. I love drawing that book. I had a real good time with it. I don't think reading it, because it didn't have Joker or Two-Face or Penguin or whatever, or Catwoman or Poison Ivy in it, I think it got overlooked a little bit. But there's some stuff in that I'm just genuinely proud of. I love the storytelling of it, and I really enjoy the story. And I got to do some stuff I don't normally get to do, which everybody knows my fight scenes from, destroying buildings and planets and stuff. Whereas in this, when the fight scenes, I tried to make sure that every punch and counter punch worked from panel to panel, both in body posture and setup and follow through. And it was an interesting way of trying to figure out the dynamics of storytelling and action storytelling too.
Well, this was a phenomenal fight scene. Yeah, I know we have a few other pages from it, but yeah, it was a great run. I think I also have maybe a DPS from issue 1 that was inked by Kevin Nolan.
Right.
Batcave image, I think, maybe
the Batcave one, yeah.
But yes, thank you, Pat.
That's one of my favorite pieces, just for Alfred in the bottom panels on that one.
That's true. That is so true. And I was looking at it the other day. It is
socks, yeah.
All right, well, Fat Doc, we appreciate it. Thank you. We have 4 more lots to look at here. This is a cover to Justice League 40, and you get Batman and Superman and Flash and the whole gang on here. And again, it's fun to see how they colored it versus how you drew it, with the just the sheer amount of detail that you put into all the characters. And then same thing, when they printed it, they kind of dropped back the villains or the people they're battling, so you could really focus on the team. And this one's on 11 by 17. So
I may have overdone it. Yeah.
Maybe, but the funny thing is, by the way they colored it, it really, it
that's Alex again.
Yeah, exactly. But a fun one to get the whole team on. I know we have a few other Justice League covers as well. Not that I'm showing today, but it's back to, if anybody has any inquiries about stuff they haven't seen, you're more than welcome. Reach out and send me an email, and if I don't have it, Brian might have it. We're happy to kind of delve into the archives to see what may or may not be available.
I have almost all, I'd say 95% of all the Justice League pages I drew at home. So
very good. Well, I think I've got a couple Justice League pages to show, and the next lot 38 is from Justice League 47. Again, I know we don't have a lot of or at least I don't have a lot of these.
This is the original stuff, isn't it? This is like
this is right. This is from the, what was it, the 96 series or something? I can't remember which volume year this one.
So I did Authority, then I went to 98, 99. So about 2000 this was.
And this is Paul Neary inks as well.
Yeah.
You get the Flash and Plastic Man, and I think it's Aquaman and Martian Manhunter in there as well. But just a good exemplative page from the run, and Plaz. I didn't get to do enough with him, but in the prestige format thing, the big format thing we did, the Evans Ladder, he was in that quite a bit, and that was quite good fun. Yeah, I didn't bring any pages from that. I know I think I put one in the last sale that we did, but I do have quite a few of those pages. So if anybody remembers, that particular book, happy to dig into that portfolio, let you know what's available there. 39 is also from Justice League, that same series. This is issue 54, and it's page 9 from that on 11 by 17. I think we had a page from this issue before. I just love the way they did the word balloons and the cubes. Like they would talk to the aliens.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
And every time, it's just a fun approach to a word balloon that we don't get to see too often.
That was Mark Waid, because he had that in mind right from the beginning. He had that figured out. So he had to describe that and draw little diagrams for the letterer to follow. But that was entirely Mark. So yeah, it's interesting. he had that one figured out right from the beginning.
And I think, this is Paul Neary inks as well. It's got the 2001 stamp on the back of it. All right, and let's see, one last piece. It was a cool idea, Jeff. I agree. Last lot of the day, lot 40.
Wonderful. Did a whole lot of covers for that. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. There's a few that in there that I'm genuinely proud of, actually.
Yeah, well, this one, I think we actually sold one or two from I know I had one in the last sale and it showed. I think somebody reached out and asked me about a specific cover, so we sold a couple. So I might have 2 or 3 other ones than this one, but this is a really nice one, dynamic, on a 11x17 issue 42, priced at $1,750.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey.
Oh, fantastic, Jeff. Jeff,
but there was a couple of times, again, like I said before, a couple of times I almost ended up doing a Wonder Woman series, and it just never quite came together for one reason or another, because things don't. Sometimes you have conversations and everybody's gung-ho, and then whatever schedules or things shift, and DC was fond of reboots, so sometimes intentions shifted. And I'm sorry, it's another one I'm sorry, like Spider-Man, it's one I'm sorry, because again, mythology, I'd love to have, like Thor, gone into the mythology with Wonder Woman, because I think Wonder Woman should have been if Batman does the night stuff and Superman does the hope stuff, Wonder Woman does the mythology stuff, and I'd love to have not just Greek mythology, but just gone into massive mythology with Wonder Woman. Anyway.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, you would have liked to have done a Thor book, or kind of the same thing,
exactly,
environments and everything. Yeah. Well, Jeff, we appreciate you picking this one up. I know Jeff had picked up a piece from the first show that we did as well. I remember he got one of the FF Galactus, like 560 pages. So thank you, Jeff. Spreading the love, as it says. So
that's appreciate it.
It's wonderful. All right, well, that's all 40. I can just kind of quickly just run through the pieces to remind everybody what's still available. If you're coming, if you're on the fence with some things, feel free to shoot me an email. We can talk after the show. These pieces that are unsold will all go up onto CAF this evening, so available then to the whole community. So this really was a first opportunity for everybody here in the live stream to get a chance at picking anything up. So here, let me run through what we got. We have lot 3 still available at $400 from Ultimate Invasion. We have a couple other Ultimate Invasion pieces. Lot 6, lot 7 is still available, as well as is lot 8, the DPS, and lot 9. This is and that was what we had from there. So Michael got 10. We've got the cover to Ultimate Avengers versus New Ultimates still available, lot 11 at $2,500. A Ultimates V2 page from issue 9, a DPS for $800. And then lot 13 is another one from Ultimates V2 issue 12 at $600. We have a cover to Age of Ultron 4, priced at $2,500. That's lot 14. And a interior DPS from issue 10 at $1,000 from that. And now Burrow got 16, so lot 17 is from Captain America Reborn. It's a DPS on one board, like everything in here. This one's at $900, as is lot 18, the page right after that one, from Captain America Reborn 3 as well. We've got the Annihilation cover, priced at $2,200 available, and a Captain Britain number 7 cover. And that one is priced at $1,500. We have that Hulk gaming artwork, $2,500 for that one, lot 21. And the Fantastic Force number 2 cover, priced at $3,000. Pretty oversized on 15 by 21 and a half board. We also have a couple Fantastic Four covers. This is the cover to 557. Lot 23 priced at $4,000, and lot 24 is also $4,000. It's the cover to FF 562. We got Matt picking up 25. We have an interior from 562. This is lot 26, priced at $450. And Matt got the next one, so lot 28 still available. This is from FF 565, priced at $450. Lot 28. We have the cover to Annual 32 for lot 29, priced at $3,500. And then we have this Gen X issue 28 page with Emma Frost and Banshee, and this one's priced at $900. Punisher cover to issue 11, $17.50. We have this one that Jason D is interested in that we'll have to just wait and find out if it's published or not, and we'll see if there's any interest there. And if there isn't, I'll definitely, anything we find out, I'll let people know if it ends up being on cap. We have the JLA 40 cover, lot 37, priced at $2,000, and then 2 Justice League interior pages as well. This is from it's lot 38, priced at $400 from issue 47, and also priced at $400, lot 39 from issue 54.
And we have Southern Comic Geek claiming lot 21, so that's terrific. Thank you very much.
There we go. I'll write that down. Thank you. I can't watch the chat while I'm doing the slides. I'm glad you're my spotter, Brian. You were announcing them before I was able to highlight them today. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's a twofer, it's a team job.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Southern Comic Geek, for claiming lot 21. We both appreciate that. So everybody's telling me to pay attention. I wish I could. Everything's tab based, so when I'm in the slide tab, I can't watch the comment tab. There you go.
Somebody says the Ultra Force Magneto was published in the pinup book called Dream Team by Malibu Comics, so it did come out there in some form at least.
Oh, cool. All right. And I see Jeff Moy just said he would claim lot 30 as well.
Oh, so fantastic. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm writing that one down. So thank you, Jeffrey C, for that. I will go ahead and dig up Dream Team by Malibu Comics. It must have, like you said, it was probably in 96 or so.
It must have been 95, 96, given when I drew it and the period. So, yeah, unfortunately, that was a long time ago and many bottles of wine back, so I'm probably not.
Well, we're getting a few claims in here. People on the fence, but they're making their decisions. Stingray's claiming lot number 8. Thank you, Stingray.
Alberto's just claimed 29. That's fantastic. Thank you, Alberto.
Alberto's the man. Thank you, Alberto. I'm not even sure which slides those were, but the claims are still coming in. Yes, they are, Tariq. So thank you, Stingray. Thank you, Alberto, for those pickups as well. I like that. For those people who are on Facebook that can't see.
Thank you all. It's been phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased as well. This is always fun, Brian, and honestly, I could talk forever about your career. You've been in the business for so long. You've worked with so many different creators, and now you're doing something completely different. It's like, and it's there's a lot of storylines that we can hit later on when we do other shows together. But I appreciate the fact that you took time on a holiday to do this with me as well. You probably didn't know you were taking a holiday when you agreed to do the show on this day. But
no, it was genuinely a coincidence, but I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, well, tell your wife we thank her for allowing you to spend a couple hours with us, and again, I know we'll have another one of these later, but hang out for a few minutes and we can talk a little bit about some of the stuff we mentioned during the show. But everybody in the chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us today. If you have any questions or if you bought anything, definitely email bill@comicartfans.com. And we'll get I can answer your questions. We can look up stuff that maybe you're interested in that we weren't able to show tonight.
Yeah.
And I'll take care of any of the sales and the claims that have already happened. So thank you everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.